Well, since it's Championship Sunday in the NFL, we felt it was only right to go big on the show. And while we're talking going big, we have some special guests here who are going to make the show big because it doesn't get any bigger than them. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you guys to, on my left side right here, Tyronne Gross, running back from Sac State. He played at Eastern Oregon, also with the Chargers. So pleasure to have you here, Tyronne.
Glad to be here, man.
And then on Matt's right side right here, we have Marlon Moore. He actually went to Natomas High School, played at Fresno State, 7-year NFL vet. So, Marlon, we appreciate you being here as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, guys, like I said at the top of this, today is Championship Sunday, starting with that dreadful NFC Championship game, unless, of course, you're an Eagles fan. But obviously, which I don't think we have any Eagles fans.
No Eagles fans, no.
So let's just get straight into it. I mean, I've seen teams have bad luck, misfortune, adversity. How do you describe what happened to the 49ers today?
The only way I can describe this is disaster. You're already down to your third string quarterback, and then you're down to a fourth string, and then you're down to an emergency quarterback. The only way you can describe this is disaster.
Yeah, never seen anything like this in my entire life.
You know, it's interesting. I don't think Kyle Shanahan was prepared for what could have happened today.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, they always say the NFL, it's a next man up game.
Mm-hmm.
The next man up has to play. But what happens when you look and you don't have a next man up to come in and play? You kind of have to be creative, which is what we saw in the second half when Purdy came back into the game. Obviously, his elbow was injured. He couldn't throw anything. So they were doing all these gadgety plays to get Debo and Kittle and everyone else involved. But, you know, as, I guess, former NFL players, when you're in a situation like that where adversity is hitting you, especially on a game of this magnitude, on the sidelines, what are you trying to do to rally your team? Or, you know, is there anything that you can say to them in this kind of instance?
At that point, it's good play, bad play, next play. You just got to keep the game going. You got to keep it rolling because one or two things are going to happen. You're going to win, you're going to lose. Regardless of what's going on, next man got to play. You got to step up to the plate, and you got to make things happen. So you got to go out there and make this game and make it a game, pretty much. Just make it a game.
Exactly. And I was interesting. I saw at one point in time, Kittle went up to Purdy. This was after the injury, and he was talking to him, I don't know, for about 3 minutes. And Kittle was always entertaining, but you know, you always wonder when you have a rookie quarterback like Purdy, first of all, who's never even played in an NFC, obviously because this is rookie year, so it's his first time playing in a game, but then to get injured in that game and then to have to come back in and somewhat try to miraculously bring your team to victory. You know, what do you think that showed about Purdy's just overall resilience, his leadership or lack thereof, and able to lead, playing this?
Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor. I think we saw that in the course of the last 7 games that he's played. He's a competitor. He went out there, he did the best he could, and I think you saw Kittle there just trying to encourage him, like, stay in the moment. You know, this is not just on you. We got to do this together. So I think it's just more of the encouragement, but you saw what type of player he is.
Well, and on the topic of luck, which we've already discussed a little bit,
yes,
you know, you hear the best teams stacked with talent, the ones that are projected to make it to Super Bowls always say still making it to Super Bowls is an extremely hard thing to do, to make it that far and get through every week of the NFL playoffs, the regular season, everything like that. So how important is luck to not just this deep of a run, but a season in general to stay healthy, to execute, and to learn with every single week?
You just hit the nail on the head because the luck aspect comes into it with the health aspect. You got to be lucky to stay healthy in this sport because we know the injury rate in this game is 100%. So regardless, just like Travis Kelce, he got hurt this week with his back in practice. That's not luck, that's unlucky. Now they're lucky that he was able to come back and play this game and finish this game, but it's the same with Jalen Hurts. Same thing with him. He hurts his shoulder and he's able to come back and he's lucky enough and healthy enough to play this game. So you got to have a little bit of luck, and the luck part comes in with health.
I was fired up to know that we had two former players in because I love the locker room perspective. You can really share from, I wanted to ask specifically about both Shanahan and Brock Purdy, what they were able to do this season. Brock taking over and having that undefeated streak until this game. Shanahan making his third string quarterback still a Super Bowl contender. Like, what's the respect level that you think they both had in that locker room for their performances this year?
Well, I mean, the NFL, everybody is good. You don't make it to the NFL if you're not good. Now, you have the one percenters that, you know, they're just the best of the best.
Yeah.
But he was prepared for that moment. He's been ready for that his entire life. And Shanahan's a great coach. And so he made sure that he's taking his reps. And so when his time came, he performed. And so that really didn't shock me. But he just took advantage of that, and that's what it is. He said it, next guy up, and he took advantage of his time.
I will say this, going into next year for the 49ers, they're in a great situation with Purdy. You got you got the young boy coming back, and then you got Garoppolo coming back as well. So whatever they want to do with those 3 quarterbacks, they're in good position. They can win games with all 3 of those guys.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely a wonderful problem to have
Yes,
when you
it
go
is.
into an offseason like this with this many quarterbacks at your disposal. Coming up into this game, to the NFC Championship game, I was reading all over the place from pundits saying that essentially this is Brock Purdy's team. He's done everything that he could do in order to earn the starting spot going into 2023. However, you also have to look at what the 49ers gave up in order to draft Trey Lance. They pretty much gave up everything in the kitchen sink to get this guy. So, since you have worked with Shanahan before, Marlon, you've been coached by him.
Yes, sir.
What do you think the wheels are spinning in his brain as he looks into this next season, and who do you think he's going to appoint the starter?
Well, let's see. If I was in Shanahan's situation, I would definitely keep Purdy in that starting situation just because of the body of work that he has put together. And then the young man, what's his name? Trey Lance, I believe.
Yes.
I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Off the set.
All right, anyway. So, young man Trey Lance, I would definitely keep him as my number 2, my backup, because he hasn't shown me anything, but he hasn't shown me that he cannot play this game as well. So you definitely have to see what he can do. And Garoppolo, he's a journeyman now. You can shop him around. You will definitely get some type of compensation back for him with draft picks or a player that can definitely bolster your defense on the outside, because I believe that they should go ahead and retool that secondary just a little bit. And if they can do that, front line is good, linebackers are great, offense is spectacular. Let's see what they do.
Yeah.
You upset some of our viewers by sharing
I
you're a
didn't
Cowboy
upset
fan.
anybody, man.
Well,
Come on.
let me take the heat off of you. I'll take it onto myself, because we're talking about the team that lost. We're not talking about the team that won in the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think a lot of people are going to want to put an asterisk next to this because of how the 49ers were so banged up. But at the same time, the Eagles got the job done. We can't hold that against them. What do you think of just this Eagles squad now making the Super Bowl? Jalen Hurts having a phenomenal MVP caliber year. What do you think about this group now going into Super Bowl Sunday?
They've just been playing great football all year long. And Jalen Hurts, it starts with him. You saw the only games that they lost is when he wasn't playing. And so, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulls it off. If he's healthy, fly, Eagles, fly.
Wow.
That's a bold statement. That's a bold statement.
Well, the interesting thing you said, if he's healthy, fly, Eagles fly, because obviously he's going to have to take on a team in the Super Bowl in the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we transition into the AFC Championship game, of course, yes, there was another championship game today. We saw the Chiefs better the Cincinnati Bengals, I guess avenging their loss from the AFC Championship game last year. When you look at this Chiefs team going into the Super Bowl, obviously Patrick Mahomes is still banged up. I mean, we saw him kind of hobbling there toward the end of the game. But how do you see that Kansas City offense, as dynamic as it can be with Mahomes healthy, going against this Philadelphia Eagles defense, who basically made the 49ers look like a JV team today?
Yeah. I think it does come down to the health. All serious, if Mahomes is healthy, we're going to have a game. But it's going to come down to the 2 quarterbacks. Whoever is healthy enough to play their game, and that's what we want to see, I think that's where we're going to get the tilt of who's going to win the game. But, just seeing how Mahomes, he barely made it through. He has, a couple of weeks to kind of get it together.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
But one bad hit or one tweak, he could be kind of back in the same situation, because we saw that today. But their defense is playing well. Their young players stepped up. So I think we're in for an exciting Super Bowl.
Yeah, my focus is pretty much on the Eagles and their passing attack. They ran the ball very well today, but they didn't generate any plays downfield. And the one that they did to Devontae Smith, we know that was incomplete.
It hit the ground.
So let's just be real about that. They really didn't generate any balls downfield. So if they can push the ball downfield against the Chiefs, and I know they're going to come up with something within these 2 weeks with Sirianni in their game plan, if they can push this ball downfield, they'll have a great chance against the Chiefs.
Now, one thing I'm interested about, and I'm sure a lot of people watching are interested, seeing you guys are both former NFL players now. Unfortunately, obviously, you guys did not make it to the Super Bowl.
No, sir.
But, but very few people, very few people get there. But just out of curiosity, being a former NFL player, when you're preparing for a game of this magnitude, there's obviously so many outside distractions, outside influences, so many things going on outside. As an NFL player, how do you just zone out everything and just focus on, studying film, going day and treating this as the coach cliche, just another game? Because obviously this is not just another game, but how do you block out all that excess noise and just focus on doing what you've been doing the last 19 weeks of the season.
It's just that, though. You have to, how you've been preparing since preseason week 1, you have to do those same things. If you start trying to do more because it's the big game, that's when you get yourself in trouble. And so you have to keep doing the little things, hey, I got to, do my film study. I have to, make sure I'm taking care of my body, but just doing the same things that got me to this point.
Yep. Whatever your checklist is leading up into the week, you don't change it, you don't deviate from it, you keep it the same, and you move as if everything is the same, status quo. Of course, it's the big game. We know that. Pressure is going to be on there, but you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself outside of the game, trying to prepare, over-prepare, do things differently, thinking that you got to tweak this and tweak that just to get ahead for yourself. No, that's not what you do. You continue to play the game as you've been playing it, stay the course, and go line it up.
The 2-week gap between NFC Championship and Super Bowl, it sucks for us as fans because we're like, bring the game on. How am I supposed to?
Pro Bowl.
I appreciate the Pro Bowl, but it's not the Super Bowl, right?
Flag
Yeah.
football.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Flag
seriously.
Dodgeball, whatever, I don't know.
Whatever it
But
takes.
for players, like, is that a thank God I have 2 weeks to rest and get ready, or is there almost an anticipation of I'm ready, let me get out there? Like I got to wait 2 weeks before I take the field on Sunday.
In my opinion, I would think it's a little bit of both, because that first week, of course, you're like, all right, let me get my body healthy, but then you start to get that countdown going. You're like, all right, it's getting closer. All right, it's 6 days, it's 4 days, it's whatever, and then you're getting into the flow of the game. So, of course, you're going to be chomping at the bit after the first week. That Sunday goes past, you're a little bit bored. You're like, I need to get going, get on this field, and then you get to chomping at the bit. You get antsy. So yeah, them boys will be ready to play.
Yeah, rhythms are everything, and so you don't never have like that 2-week gap in the season.
Ever.
So that that kind of gets you off a little bit. So you want, like I said, you want to keep things as close to the same as possible. But how do you do that with that 2-week break? So, but if you're a guy that's injured, where you have both quarterbacks that's battling through that, it's the best thing for them. They get time to rest their body, because the only way you can rest your body is not getting hit.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, going back to the AFC Championship game tonight, second straight year that it's Bengals, Chiefs. That's how rivalries are formed, right? We saw
sir.
players chirping before, during, and after games. So I want to ask the two of you, experiencing NFL rivalries, one, like, what was your rival when you were in the NFL? One that, like, just remember. And what's it like playing in a rivalry atmosphere for the NFL?
Oh, we had some battles with the Jets, and the one thing that we would say, well, pretty much, the day we get done with that game and it's Jets week, coach comes in and say, all right, that's behind us, it's Jets week. So you gotta strap up and you gotta get on your stuff right now, because this is the Jets. And I'm quite sure they felt the same way where they were coming from. It's something about the Dolphins and the Jets when we were playing. It was just bad blood. Also with the Bills, but Jets week, it was big. It was big for us.
I would say for us, the years I was there, it was the Patriots, because they knocked us out of the playoffs both years. So, but that guy Tom Brady, like
Who?
Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Wow. But, to piggyback off of Matt's question, which NFL fans are the absolute worst?
Oh, jeez.
No NFL fan is the worst. Now, we're talking about who's the rowdiest?
Yeah.
There you go. Who's the most rambunctious?
All right, in my opinion, I'm playing in Buffalo. I've seen a lot of things in Buffalo. A lot of middle fingers getting thrown my way by 5-year-olds, and it's just been it's been interesting.
5-year-olds, they're grooming them young over
they
Bills
do.
Mafia.
Oh yeah, they do. You see them putting the babies through the little tables, even though it's not violent. They still getting them ready at a young age. So Buffalo is it's a wild place, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have to say the Boston playoff games against the Patriots. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes football fun. Obviously,
Yes, sir.
the fans, and as long as they're not, 5-year-old babies giving you the middle finger. But at any rate, it's what makes it enjoyable for everyone. As we see, it's obviously very passionate for all NFL fans. But one of the things I want to say before we get out of here is that I know that you guys hear both of them as analysts for the NFL and talking about it, but both of these guys are upstanding members in their community. Marlon is actually a coach over at Indercombe High School for the football team there, and he does a wonderful job with the kids, being a mentor and shining a light for all of them. So
Appreciate that,
we know Indercombe is proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Tyronne, I could refer to him as Pastor Gross because he actually pastors a church in Elk Grove and Bayside. So I just want to tell both of you guys, in addition to being athletes and doing all that wonderful stuff that you did, just to see you guys prosper in your personal lives after that is
Thank you.
pretty admirable.
I appreciate that, boss. Really appreciate that.
And to build off that a little bit too, you guys are great advocates for the game, but I'm curious from your perspective as retired NFL players and just football fans in general, football coach, pastor, like, where do you think the game is at right now? Where do you think it is?
I've already had this conversation with a lot of my friends. the game, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Okay, we all know that. But they're also more creative. The minds of these players nowadays and the ways that they attack routes, they attack the running game. They're attacking as DBs. They're attacking on the front line. You got 300-pound D linemen that are running 4.6s and 4.7s.
Crazy.
I don't want any part of that. I'm just being real with you. I don't want any part of that. Y'all have it. Y'all got that.
Tyronne said, yeah.
I don't want any part of that. I'm just being real.
You know, it's interesting you say that, kind of to piggyback again off of what Matt said, but you see a lot of stats now in the NFL being inflated, or I shouldn't say inflated, but you see versus 20 years ago. It's a very pass-happy league now. And now that you have an extra week in the season, it's what, 17 weeks
17.
instead of 16 weeks, you see a lot of numbers and records that will probably be broken over time. When you look at, I guess, a lot of these pass-happy teams and the way that offenses have evolved so much in the NFL, is it fair to compare eras or generations like, you know, when Rice played and Moss played in the 90s versus, you know, Jamar Chase now and things of that sort? Just as former players, when you see generations or eras comparing each other, do you feel that's fair, or do you feel every generation or era should have its own?
I think it should be on, or put an asterisk next to the records, because if you're getting extra games, that's, you know, another game, another rep to have the opportunity to break a record. So to say, you know, I'm the best receiver because I have X amount of yards, well, you played 6 more games. Come on. So I think, you know, keeping it with your generation, or just put an asterisk next to it, because it's not the same.
Yeah, me personally, I don't compare eras. Jerry Rice is Jerry Rice, and Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's no comparison. The only thing that you can do is take similarities. You feel me? You got to see what was similar from back then and similar now and similar in these players' games and go with that. But comparing, there is no comparison. Those guys are great, and the guys today are great as well.
I can dig it. Good stuff there. All right, guys. Well, you know, before we get out of here, you know, I since we were talking about Super Bowl predictions earlier, I'm going to go around. I want you guys to say the score of the Super Bowl and who's winning predictions. Because you know what? I'm going to show this in 2 weeks to see who was actually right. So we'll start off over here, Marlon.
On the spot. All right, I got the Chiefs winning. Both quarterbacks going through something. The Chiefs receivers are banged up. The Eagles couldn't push the ball downfield. I got them winning 28. I give it 28-24.
Oh, close game, though.
Close game.
We'll take that.
Matt, I'm going to ask you to
Oh, crap. I thought I was getting out of it. All right. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game just because of the excitement of the two quarterbacks. I think it's that's what I want to see. I'm manifesting what I want to see out of this game. So give me like a 42 to, let's say, 38.
Wow.
And I'll pick the Eagles to make 49ers fans feel better. Or worse. Would you rather lose or, like, see the team that beat you win?
Don't ask me. Y'all know how I feel right now, so I'm floating on cloud nine.
It's bad either way if the Niners are winning. What do you got, Tyronne?
Ooh, man. 35-28.
Okay.
I got to go with the Eagles.
I knew he was flying. I knew he was flying. I knew he was going to fly. I knew he was flying.
Wow, so we got 2 Eagles and a Chief right there.
What about you?
What about you?
Hey, I got
No one wants to know my opinion. But if I had to say something, I would say the Chiefs are going to win the game 21-14. So I think it'll be a low scoring affair.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going with the receivers being banged up in the secondary, and I don't believe that the Eagles are going to be able to push the ball downfield. Of course, they're going to run, and that's their game, to control the clock. So you want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You get pocket Mahomes, not Patrick. Pocket Mahomes is a dangerous dude. Y'all got to remember that. Pocket Mahomes is very dangerous.